There is a particular playstyle in Street Fighter that many call scrubby or random.
Yes, just do random uppercuts. Keep doing it.
I'm not referring to an archetype designed intentionally by the creators of the game, like a grappler or a zoner. Conversely, practitioners of this style are actually known for playing shotos, an archetype most people consider to be honest. But in the right person's hands, even the most honest of characters can seem cheap.
Oh my god, stop! Both of you should no longer be using the derp! The classic!
There are many names for this kind of player, but I know him as...
Gotta do this. Come on.
You may run into one in ranked and think to yourself,
No fundamentals at all. Why do you play shotos?
Oh, what did he even do?
It's random, bro.
but what does it mean to play randomly in the first place, and why does it work? If you're familiar with Street Fighter, chances are you're also familiar with the flowchart Ken meme. Ever since SF4, there has been a phenomenon surrounding Ken players who play in a very distinct way. Strategies include jump back Hadokens, tattoos for mid-screen,
Who does that?
and of course, for combos, their only known B&B is known as the Bodega combo, which is jump heavy kick into sweep. The name comes from a legendary Ken player who beat Daigo in a first to 10 mirror match in the 90s. This style became known as Satsui no Ken,
Hey, I was waiting for you.
or flowchart Ken in English, and has been a staple in Street Fighter culture for over a decade now.
You gonna do when the round begins?
Shoryuken!
What?
Shoryuken!
Flowchart Kens are notorious for populating the lower to intermediate rungs in the ranked ladder, since most players there don't know how to or can't adapt quickly enough to beat them. But another factor as to why playing against it can be challenging is that it's effective at frustrating people and making them play on tilt. And the reason for that is the concept of risk versus reward. When you make a decision in Street Fighter, you should be taking into account the risk in case your plan doesn't work, and the reward if it does. This doesn't just apply for mix-ups, but our decisions in neutral as well. For example, what is the risk versus reward of throwing a fireball at mid-screen? The risk would be eating a combo if they jump over it, while the reward would be a small amount of damage, or no damage at all if it gets blocked or parried. At first glance, it may seem like it's in our best interest to just never throw fireballs because of the skewed risk-reward ratio. Jumping would cost half your life, so how can this be worth it? One reason we throw fireballs is to bait the opponent into jumping, because if they jump predicting a fireball and guess wrong, they'll eat an anti-air. Because a jump-in combo is so much more damage than your typical fireball or anti-air, jumping seems tempting. However, if you watch how pros play, you'll notice that they still throw fireballs. That's because they know that they both want to jump over a fireball, so they're baiting each other into jumping. And if you look closely, you'll notice that they're mostly throwing only 1 or 2 fireballs in a row. That's because if you throw too many in a row, it becomes too predictable, as well as too risky. There are many other options not limited to jumping or throwing a fireball, but this is just one example of how weighing risk versus reward can influence our decisions. This is not even mentioning more abstract concepts such as player habit, emotional state, fatigue, and whether or not you ate breakfast this morning. When people complain that someone is playing randomly, what they mean is that someone is taking a lot of unnecessary risks that have little return. In other words, the odds are not in their favor. These are bad gambles, so you don't expect them to keep going for it. For example, random Shoryukens neutral can at best grant a knockdown, and at worst, you lose over half your health bar. That's why losing to someone playing like this is so infuriating, and so effective. You know that they keep taking risky gambles all the time, yet it somehow keeps working out for them.
Wake up EX Tatu. In nearly all instances, a terrible idea.
A common misconception people have about fighting games is that you need to have outstanding execution to play well, but that's not really the case. Decision-making, planning, and the appliance of the two mid-match, all while keeping your cool, are what I consider to be the most difficult things about Street Fighter. Most players can perform a combo consistently, but not as many can consistently plan ahead and read their opponents on a tactical level.
You have 99 seconds in a round. Why are you panicking? Think about the strategy. What's going on? Even if the opponent's going nuts, alright, just block, take the throw. If you lose like that, you lose like that. But just be more confident on your defense. Be more confident on the block. Try to play more patiently.
The flowchart Ken playstyle is psychologically powerful against newer players especially, because it's very effective at inducing anger and fear. Anger from not being able to adjust and punish accordingly, even if they know how to beat it. And fear from not knowing what the is going on. When people get angry, they are more likely to play aggressively, which is exactly what they want. And when people panic, they tend to default to the same options over and over again. Their fight or flight response kicks in, and to use SF6 examples, they either block or walk back during pressure more than they should, or start mashing drive impact. It's not uncommon to play a flowchart Ken and find yourself walking back on Oki for the 5th time in a row, even though he hasn't actually done an EXDP on Wake Up in the entire set. A wise man once said,
"My friend asked me why I know the overheaded is coming. I still block low. I told him, you don't directly drink the water from the sink because you think it is dirty. Then you don't eat the apple until it cleaned. But you will eat the apple after you clean it by the sink water. You understand?"
If your answer to this question is a resounding,
Hell no, what the fuck?
let me lay it out for you like this. You know the sink water is dirty, but you are so afraid of eating the dirty apple that you wash it with the dirty sink water and eat it anyway. You know that he will not EX Shoryuken, but you are so afraid of it that you give up on pressure. Go watch SF5 Chris Tips. So does playing randomly only work against lesser skilled players? On the contrary, playing randomly is powerful on the higher end as well. Part of being good at Street Fighter is being able to pick up on your opponent's tendencies and reacting accordingly. Consequently, this means that your opponent is also trying to figure you out, and you have to try your best to mitigate that. If you always take the safer option and never take risks, you become so predictable because you always choose the safe option. The phrase, "just take the throw," exists because taking damage from a throw is less of a punishment than eating a combo if you tech and guess wrong. But sometimes, just taking the throw will end up in you getting throw looped, and eating more damage than if you would have just risked the tech in the first place. This is why, although playing safely most of the time is good in theory, going for the risky option is not necessarily a bad idea. In fact, many players have developed their playstyles specifically around making harder reads. The grappler archetype actually suits the style of play very well, complete with high damaging command grabs and a larger health pool so that they can afford to take more risks. So if you've ever wondered why on earth Honda has more health than you, I don't know either. Keep in mind, there's a difference between your typical Johnny Donuts and someone who makes plays based on their heart. So make this distinction, people who play with their heart don't take the risky approach more often just because they think it's fun, but because they're so effective at reading their opponents. They can show enough restraint when they need to, and just when you think they're not going to do anything, this happens.
And this is a walk-up SPD like this. That's a walk-up SPD. You just basically hold forward and you just do an SPD motion and it always works.
They are able to read and adapt to their opponents so well that their risky plays seem to work out in their favor more often than not.
No, what fucking super awkward, Bill? Oh, you think you're so good! You think you're so fucking good!
Playing like this is exciting for both the players and spectators, and is one of the reasons moments like this exist.
Oh, nice, very nice, very nice, very nice.
I like it.
No way!
How did he know?
Oh my god!
Stop it!
Silk!
Aquasilk!
So that's why playing random works. Sometimes. I hope you learned something worthwhile to you. I've been Naomi Chungus, and remember, take care everywhere.